Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we are back.
We are back.
I'm Jason Kreidman.
I'm Alan Bush.
And this is Dudes to Dads. Again.
For the
episode 109 for all those keeping count.
Right.
Are you keeping count?
Yes, I am keeping count. I'm the one who's producing them.
I'm here every week. So welcome, Alan. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode. Everything going good?
Yeah, things are good.
When are you? I'm waiting for you to say, no, it's not very
It's
good.
terrible.
Let's talk about it.
I would never do that on air.
No. Well, that's why I wait to have in-depth conversations so that I don't know what's going on.
Let's do a beer episode and you're going to hear me cry about my,
So I'm just waiting for that time where I said, hey, Alan, how's it going? You're like, let me tell you about it. Not that I'm waiting for that. I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I like the fact that every time I see you, you're in a good mood.
I try to be in a good mood, yeah.
That would be kind of depressing, is it every time? Well, we have this uplifting, inspirational podcast with the co-host.
Sorry, I'm really depressed.
That could be a podcast too, like the depressing podcast.
Eeyore and Tigger.
That's rad. So tonight's episode is about attention. Okay, and the title is: Can you give your kids too much attention?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think yes.
That's the hypothesis?
The hypothesis is yes.
Okay, well, we're done.
To the research.
Thank you. Good night.
Back it up with research.
So who doesn't like attention?
Of course.
I think we all like attention.
Yeah, to some degree.
That's the problem is that we as parents pay much more attention to our kids when they're behaving badly than when they're behaving good.
Right.
I was about to say goodly.
I was thinking the same thing.
We've been together for too long. So here's what I'm going to say, and I know dads are not going to like this. If your child is misbehaving, especially when they're younger, it's our fault. Mm-hmm. We have to take responsibility for it.
Do you think you're learning by example? Is that the issue?
Well, that's what we're going to learn tonight.
There we go.
I love how you just segue it right in there.
Yeah, segue. Well, I've been looking at the notes.
So there's three kinds of attention. Mm-hmm. Okay. First kind, positive attention.
Yeah.
Okay. Positive is, let's say, affection, praise, good stuff.
Sure.
Okay. We typically do this when our children are well behaved or doing what they're told to do. And we give them the approval.
Right.
It's giving them approval and saying, hey, that's great. Good job. Or whatever, however you want to say it. You must be so happy.
Right.
Our emotional stability.
Sure.
So the second is negative attention. Mm-hmm. Negative attention is given to them when they misbehave, when they're doing something wrong. This can be yelling, lectures, threats, punishment, whatever. Now this is the key. Negative attention is still a reward.
Okay.
Let me repeat that.
Okay.
Negative attention is still a reward. Mm-hmm. So it teaches them to interrupt you, annoy you, behave rudely,
right,
bad, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So keep that in mind and keep that thought that you're understanding what that negative attention is. And then the third one is just no attention at all. Mm-hmm. Just ambivalence. Just whatever. So there's a problem in that, our children want our attention, especially when they're young, they're toddlers, they're growing up. They want our attention all the time. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's how it goes. If they don't get positive attention, guess what? They're going to still want attention.
Yeah.
And so the negative attention provides that as well.
Sure.
Okay. And I think people probably get that and understood, or understand it pretty well. But as I said in the beginning, in the opening, we give so much more negative attention, typically, than positive. So as an example, our kids are about to have a fight. Let's say you have siblings, whatever, and you come in, you're like, hey, stop fighting. You go to your room. But they got attention.
Yeah.
Okay. They got attention. They got something. It doesn't teach them anything. It doesn't reinforce anything. Now, we think in our minds, and we've talked about this, about punishment. This is a great episode, a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
How it just doesn't work. Well, this is along those same lines. The negative attention is not going to work. It makes it worse. So if they get positive attention, they will want that, and they will continue then to do more positive things to get that positive attention.
Sure,
Because the bottom line is they want attention.
They want attention in some way, shape, or form.
And if they're not going to get the positive attention, they will get the negative attention.
Right.
And we typically give it to them.
Sure.
It's crazy. This, as simple as this is, it's profound.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm tooting my own horn. It's that I just, like, as I was making this and preparing for this episode, I'm like, a light bulb went off. And I'm like, I can't believe how much this resonates with what I deal with, you know, because it's like, we may get upset, and the children still, quote, win.
Sure.
By getting that attention. So we're not changing the behavior.
Right.
And that's our ultimate goal, is to change the behavior. So what do we do? The answer is to give them positive attention. So what does that look like? So positive attention could be, here's a couple things. You and your brother are playing so nicely together. They're not, they didn't ask for anything. They're not, whatever. It's you giving attention when it wasn't even solicited or sought after. Yeah. Like you're saying, hey, you did something really, really good. Another one would be, you should be really proud of yourself for reading that entire book. Or here's another one. I really appreciate that you put your clothes away today. It was very nice of you to let your sister choose the television show first. Those are all affirmations that typically, I'm guessing, most parents, including myself, don't do enough of. Caveat.
Sure.
What we do is just expect the good stuff.
Yes.
And then when something goes bad and something is negative, we make a big deal of it and make sure that they're aware of it.
Yeah, their homeostasis should be always awesome. And then the minute they fall off of awesome,
we make sure
they get right back on that awesome horse.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's actually the opposite is what's really effective.
Right. Yeah.
This is crazy. Yeah. It's really just makes.
Yeah. I see that a lot with people. And like when people are jerks, but they somehow have a good day. Well, look how good they were versus like someone who's always awesome and they have a bad day. They'll just punish it. Right. So that happens pretty frequently. Yeah.
So I, in our meetup group the other day, we had one of the dads was telling me a story about his 6-year-old who often complained about having a stomach ache. Her stomach had a problem all the time. So of course they catered to her and, give her attention. Oh, I'm so sorry. We couldn't go here, blah, 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 all this stuff. So she just recently came forward and said that it was all like made up. It was all made up. Her stomach really didn't hurt.
Yeah.
She just wanted attention.
Wow.
I mean, which is really cool for the child to say that.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah. She still said this as a child, not.
Yeah. Like, she's still 6.5, or whatever.
Very mature kid.
Right. But.
I'm sorry, Father. I'd lied to you.
That was awesome. It's just the fact, though, that the child will continue to do that because they got the attention.
Yeah.
And it that happens all the time. I mean, it's a difficult situation because you can't discount what a child says if they're doing something like that.
Yeah, you don't want to be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, they're in pain, they're struggling. It's like, you're not. Yeah, your stomach doesn't hurt.
Yeah, walk it off.
That's a hard situation.
Sure.
But the idea that we pay too much attention to the negative is just, that's for sure that resonates. And I'm guessing that guys will feel that same way.
Sure.
In fact, if you do, what do they do?
Podcast at deucedads.com or Twitter at deucedads or Facebook, deucedads.com, or get on iTunes and Stitcher and subscribe and on YouTube. Do all those things. Matter of fact, go all those things I just mentioned.
Do them all.
And just do them all.
Awesome.
In one day.
So we're going to ask the question, can you give your kids too much attention, even if it's positive?
Yeah.
I think we can.
I think you can. Yeah. So
while it is crucial to give attention, I do think that there is such a thing as too much.
Yeah, I think, for sure.
So
you overdo it.
to personalize a little bit more, I've been recently concerned that my own children have created expectations around events and school functions and things like this. And I'll explain. So because I have a flexible schedule, I work for myself, I have the benefit, let's say, of going to many activities.
Sure.
You know, if there's a school function,
take time off.
Yeah, I can go in the middle of the day. There's a school function.
Right.
There's like a recital. Yeah. There's a field trip.
Right.
I recently went on a field trip with my daughter. My concern, though, is that when reality hits and there's something that I can't go, or I just decide not to go to something,
I don't feel like it.
How upset they actually are, and I've witnessed it. And that's not their fault. This is my fault.
Sure.
That I've sort of set myself up for allowing them to expect that attention at all time, all the time. So, hey, there's something going on. Hey, what do you mean you're not going to be there?
Right.
This is not their fault.
There.
Yeah, you're always there.
Yeah.
So, and the idea is because I don't want to feel that they're disappointed,
sure.
And the reality is that I have the ability to go.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but the majority of the time I do.
Sure.
Because it just happens to fall on, unfortunately, like my wife who works part-time, it often happens when it falls on those days. So if she was able to go, then I might not, be as inclined to go.
Sure. Yeah.
One of us is representing.
Totally makes sense.
But it often happens on the days, those days. So I have that flexibility. But I think there's something to having them be disappointed and teaching them to manage that. And I don't want to make this sound in a negative way, but we all are going to have disappointments in life.
Now you know what it's like to want.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I think I'm sensitive to this because, which I've talked about more when my dad was here and such, is that I thought everything was really perfect. When I was growing up, like everything was just, wow, this is perfect. My parents are perfect, and it sets yourself up for a lot of difficulty later in life, stress and anxiety and all these things because if something's not perfect and not going as it's supposed to.
Right.
How do you cope with that?
Right.
And so this is sort of along those lines. It's like, well, dad always does that stuff. Well, what if dad can't do it? Okay, well, then you're going to have to understand that and deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's not that big of a deal. Absolutely. Versus there are probably plenty of kids that have no expectations of their parents.
Right.
Which can also be bad. Now, I will say, if you promise to do something, that's different.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking about that, where you say, hey, I'll be there, and then you don't show up.
Right.
That's a whole different animal.
It's just rude.
That would never happen. Yeah. But I'm saying where it's like, hey, you know what? No, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I actually consciously am thinking like, that might be something I need to do. Where I said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to make this one, but hey, the next one I'll be sure I'll make it.
And there could be legitimate reasons why you don't want to do it. It could be one of them, but also B,
I've had other things.
Exactly. Things that can really come up.
Right. And that's my own stuff. I mean, I'm saying I'm talking from my own stuff of just feeling that guilt or, something because like, well, I guess I could go. I don't have anything that's pressing, I could just work later. I have that flexibility. So that's really, that's something to think about.
You don't want to be cat in the cradle or whatever that song is.
No, not at all.
You're nowhere near that.
Yeah. I just think it is an issue of the idea of, paying too much attention. Now, when a child is a baby, some people think, well, I'm just, in fact, one of the guys in the meetup said this, he has a 9-month-old. He said, well, just, are you holding the baby too much? I feel like I'm always holding the baby and my wife's always, like too much attention. I was like, when they're that young, I don't feel like there's too much attention.
Right.
But as they get a little bit older, they require a little less.
Right.
But we also have to teach them to require a little less. But it's still okay to crave attention.
Right.
To do that. So what are some ways that we can manage an attention-seeking child? What can we do? So here's a couple of ways. First, focus the attention on the positive. So focus and provide positive attention. So we got that. That's
sure.
Clear. The second one, spend some alone time with them, especially if you have multiple children. That one-on-one time is going to fill their cup a little bit, and that's what they may want. So that'll help, spend that at times. Because a lot of times too, if you have multiple kids, everything's done as a family. It's really nice to have that one-on-one time.
I know some people that come from big families, and I do hear it in their voice when they had moments with they were more alone with their parents.
How awesome it was.
They talk about it a little differerly. Mm-hmm. It's like, I remember when me and my dad, blah, blah, blah. And they're not saying that it was awesome and all anything, but they have a very vivid memory of that because they had
focused attention.
Time. Exactly. It wasn't divided amongst the multiple siblings that they had. Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. Here's a third one. Teach them to ask for what they want. Mm-hmm. So this has become, as a child gets a little bit older, after toddler, and they begin to kind of understand things a little better, their brain's working. I can give you a personal example is one of my children, I won't say was acting up, and in a way that almost like tantrum-like,
sure.
And it turns out they just wanted attention.
Sure.
That was really what they wanted. And so we talked about it. I talked about it with the child and I said, hey, when instead of yelling and instead of getting angry and instead of stomping out or such, is it just really that you want to spend time with me or mom? And they said, yes. And I said, so what you need to do is when you feel like that, ask for our attention and say like, hey, I need some attention right now. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm 42 and I do that.
Hey, attention.
No, but to be able to ask for what you want or what you need is a very valuable skill.
Absolutely.
That I'm still learning. Yeah. Instead of we do it in different ways. We're passive aggressive. We act up. As adults, we do the same thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. You think one thing we're going to get a reward for it for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't do this, so I'm going to be mad. But whatever it is. And so we act up in that way.
Yeah.
And so the same thing for a child. And so, my child was at like the top of the stairs the other day and said, hey, Dad, I need some attention. Boom, dropped what I was doing and went and gave her. I just gave it away. I knew I wouldn't be able to hold it.
I was going to say your pronouns are running out.
Yeah.
The child.
But it was profound to be able to do that as a child.
For sure.
And to say what you really wanted. And I'm glad that was the case because then it's like a more clear communication to know, okay, they're just not acting up. They're actually needing something.
Yeah, they just want, exactly.
And that's okay. That's okay to
absolutely.
need that.
Craving attention, there's nothing wrong with
it. It becomes so much more like real when that's said.
Yeah.
And even to your spouse, it's saying like, hey, I'd really, I'm not feeling very close right now. Like I'd really like some time if we can spend it. Just verbalizing it and being very clear about it and not being complaining about it, I should say. Like you're not doing this.
Yeah.
It's more about what it is that you want or you need versus what they're not doing.
Right.
So same thing to teach your child.
For sure.
The fourth one, tell your child what to do instead of what not to do.
Yes.
So that's kind of along the same lines.
And we've had that periodically on the show mentioning that technique.
Yeah.
It's a motif of the show.
Yeah. The word no often causes friction. Like, no, you can't do this or no. So instead of saying that, you're just telling them what to do.
Right.
Tell me that you need this. Yeah. Instead of no.
Right.
And the fifth one, ignore bad behavior. So that third type of attention, ignoring, instead of giving into the bad behavior or yelling or arguing or trying to discipline or doing whatever, simply ignore it. So when you start to reward or
unless they're lighting fires or something.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about like them whining or having a tantrum, all that stuff, you ignore it. It's almost like they're just not getting that attention.
It totally diffuses everything at that point.
How's that working for you?
Yeah, is that working out? Because you didn't get anything from it. So I remember someone in college had talked about this, and it might be an anecdote somewhere else, but it's the opposite of love is not hate; it's apathy. The love and hate are on the same spectrum of extreme emotion,
right?
Whereas apathy is the lack of it. And so, in reality, in a weird way, I guess I know they are completely opposites when you think about it in that context.
No.
When you remove them, so I was like, all right, this is on the same spectrum. The opposite of that spectrum is I don't care.
Right? No, you're totally right.
Yeah.
That's really ignoring. It's very hard to do.
Oh yeah,
It's very hard to do.
Yeah.
but it works.
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah.
And you can even say it. So you're not just completely blatantly saying, you know what? I'm not going to respond to that behavior.
Yeah.
And so when you're ready to, talk, then we can talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I told you about the anecdote as well in previous episodes. Same thing with friends. I mean, as adults, I've done this. It's like, let me know when you're done being crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go over here now and not deal with you right now because I don't want that. I don't want to
play with your cats.
Cave into that. Yeah, exactly. Do whatever you got to do, but don't involve me until you are ready to talk.
Right. So those are some tips just to manage it and for an attention-seeking child. Ultimately, if we sort of have to wrap it up and sort of what it's all about, is ultimately have a discussion with your child when you're both calm. That's the key. That you simply won't interact or deal with the bad behavior. They have to be clear on what that means.
Sure.
So they have to be of a certain age. But when they're not a certain age and you don't have to verbalize it, you just don't interact or do it with that bad behavior.
Right.
When the child's whining and crying and doing it and you're not responding, they're going to realize that it doesn't work. And so if you can then reverse that by giving praise when there's something positive, make a huge deal out of it. They're going to respond and they're going to want that positive praise. Like, oh, that's when I do that, I get the reward.
Sure.
And it works. So just be sure you're making a really big deal when they do the good things. And I think that's a tip for all parents, including myself, is to pay attention when they're doing something good or doing something right or doing something within the rules, however you want to put it.
Right.
And make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
And let's not focus on that negative. Let's focus on the positive.
Right.
So with that, what do they do?
Podcast at dudesdads.com. You can go to Twitter at dudesdads, Facebook, dudesdads.com, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. You can subscribe and leave some comments and preferably 5 stars on iTunes and some thumbs ups on Stitcher.
You got it all.
Yeah, we got all those things going on there. And if you want to email us or send us a message on any of those platforms, please do. We love the feedback. So,
all right. And with that, Alan, thank you as always.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week.
See you next week.